What a special, incredible morning this is. Time to be truly together, which we have not done in a very, very long time, and time to celebrate these amazing people who have journeyed for 16 months to come to this day. Before we officially begin the service, just a few things that I want to share with you. We do have quite a few guests who may not have been here before and who may not be totally familiar with our service. So first of all, we have incredible ushers and greeters. So if you need anything during the service, please do not hesitate to ask. Additionally, if you have never been to a service before, I want to just do a quick introduction to our prayer book. You will notice that it does not open like an English book. It opens the Hebrew direction, which is right to left. And when you open to a prayer, I'll give you an example. You will find a 2-page spread. So everything opens fully. On one side, you'll find Hebrew, with the transliteration below it, a faithful translation, and then on the following side, an interpretation of the prayer. Below that, you may find some commentary. So every 2 pages, every open spread is about one prayer, and that's what we'll find this morning. So we will be flipping pages quite a bit because we're not going to read the whole page for every prayer. Additionally, the service this morning is really going to be led almost in its entirety by our class this morning. So it's really quite special that we're here. I do have one pretty serious favor to ask of you, and that is that you take a look at your cell phone. I really do mean it. Take a look at your cell phone. Make sure that it is on vibrate or silent or even off. I know we don't do that very often. Because even if you think that it's on vibrate or silent or off, it may not be. And I really don't think God is going to call us this morning. So just take a quick look. We do not allow photography or videoing during our service. You can save all of that for later in the day. Abraham Joshua Heschel, a famous philosopher and theologian from the 20th century, taught that there is nothing more sacred than time, and we have so little of it. And so this morning, our gift to each of our B'nai Mitzvah celebrants this morning is time, is to be fully and completely present in the moment, to celebrate with them, to give them the gift of our full presence. And so by putting our cell phones away, and by being fully in the moment, we have given them a priceless, extraordinary gift. And it is now my pleasure to introduce the class and ask them to come forward because we will share the Shehechianu, a blessing that gives thanks for this moment. And so I'd like to ask Muriel, Lederman, Jonathon, Yassanye, Tessa, Gable, Dorothea, Polster, Justin, Maraschky, and Eric Arnold to come forward for the Shehechianu.
Kimanu vehikianu lazman hazeh Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu vekimanu vehikianu lazman hazeh Amen.
We'll begin our service with Tessa Gable, who will begin leading on page 67.
I enter this sacred space to voice the longing of my heart in prayer. In sacred company, I offer my love to the Holy One. I devote myself this morning to psalm and song, to study and prayer. May my heart be lifted, may my thoughts be deepened, and may my soul like the eagle soar. Please turn to page 68 for our opening song, Moda Ani.
Ani lefanecha, melech v'kayam, shechezarta b'nishmati b'chemra, rabba emunatecha, rabba emunatecha, modani
I forgot to let everyone know, and you should see it in your order of service, is that every student, every learner this morning wrote a prayer interpretation in their studies. And so throughout the service, you'll hear these interpretations, which shows their deep learning and their understanding of each prayer.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam. I'm sorry, we are on page...
Nope, we skipped. You're supposed to do... Here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Please rise as able for the Baruch Hu on page 110.
Yes. Yalla lie lie lie, 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 yalla lie lie lie. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Yalla lie lie lie, 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 yalla lie lie lie. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed, le'olam va'ed. Yalla lie lie lie, 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 yalla lie lie lie.
We continue on page 110. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzer or uvarei choshech, oseh shalom uvarei et helkol. Hameir la'aretz, veladarim alecha verachamim, uvtavo mekadesh b'chol yom tamid, ma'aseh v'reshit. Ma rabu ma'asecha Adonai, kulam b'chochma asita. Mal'ah ha'aretz kinyanecha, titbarach Adonai Eloheinu. Al shavak ma'aseh yadecha, va'al me'orei or shiasita, yafaruka sala. Or charash al tzion te'ir, v'niskei chalanu mehera le'oro. Baruch ata Adonai, yotzer ham orot. Adonai, creator of the universe, creator of the light and the darkness, the heaven and the earth, and all living beings. Each cycle of light and dark, a new opportunity to learn, to choose again, and praise you for all the majestic beauty architected by your hand. Praise to you, Adonai, who shines light, illuminating the world and all living beings. Please turn to page 113.
Once or twice in a lifetime, a man or woman may choose a radical leaving, having heard Lech Lecha, go forth. God disturbs us towards our destiny by hard events and by freedom's now urgent voice, which explode and confirm who we are. We don't like leaving, but God loves becoming. Baruch atah Adonai, Havoher, V'mod Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'kol avaka uv'kol nafsheka uv'kol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavka hayom al levaveka v'shinatam levaneka v'dibarta bam v'shivteka b'veiteka uvlekteka v'derek ukshokbecha uvkumecha ushartam leot al yadeka v'hayu leftofafot bein eineka ushavtam al mezuzot beiteka uvishareka neman tizkeru v'asitem eko mitzvotai yirikim kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hoseyetiechem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihiyot lachem le'elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Take you to heart these instructions with which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children. Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Thus you shall remember to observe all my commandments and to be holy to your God. I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. Adonai Elohim Emet. Our relationship with Adonai involves loyalty, good deeds, prayer, love, and community. In return, he gives us strength, freedom, and safety. Our relationship with Adonai is never ending. Okay. We continue on page 121.
Amet, there is no place where you are not. Even in the wilderness, there is your word. Amet, that pen strokes of lightning, white fire, black flame, stir the soul's passion, guide our sacred way. True and endearing is Torah. Your truth for us is certain and established, now and forever. Like Moses, Miriam, and all Israel, we sing out and rejoice.
Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh, mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh. No ra tehilot, o
Please turn to page 124 and rise for the tefillah. The prayer Avot Ve'imahot is acknowledging and remembering God's divine support to the Jewish people and their covenant with him. God connects with each of us on an individual level, as well as providing a bond of reliance and love for us collectively as Jews. The covenant with God that started with our ancestors was not only a commitment, it was a genuine connection that was built upon faith and dedication to him, which will continue to live on throughout the generations. To me, seeing how we use our parents' names within our Hebrew name is a way to overtly honor and remember where we come from, which is why I like having Abraham and Sarah in mine, because it truly sets my foundation of my Jewish roots.
Adonai sefatach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor V'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Hasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zoher Hasdei Avot Ve'imahot, Umavi Geula Le'ilei V'neihem, Lemon Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Umoshia Umagen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ve'ezrat Sarah.
אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה, רב להושיע, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו, וישני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומידו מעילה, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונעמה אתה לך חיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. When faced with an opportunity to make a choice and no one is present to hold you accountable to that decision, I believe that this is where the power of God is present. It is based in morality, not in fear of smite or damnation, to impress upon the individual that even when no man is around to note your good or bad deed, God is always there. He is there to provide guidance when we falter, not judgment when we fail. He is there to recognize the challenge of making the right decision even when no one is there.
מקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ, כבודו, אדיר אדירנו אדוני, אדוננו מאדיר, שמך בכל הארץ, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו, הוא מלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו, ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד God לך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד God לך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש, לא ימוש לעולם ועד. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד God לך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד God לך, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Please be seated. We continue singing on page 132.
ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. ומלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת ובשביעי רצית בו וקידשת שבת חמדת ימים אותו קראת שבת ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת זכר למעשה בראשית שבת זכר למעשה בראשית שבת ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת.
We continue on page 134. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu ritzei v'imnuchatenu kadeshenu b'mitzvotecha v'tein chelkenu v'toratecha sab'enu mituavecha v'samchenu b'shuatecha v'taher libenu la'avdecha be'emet v'hankilenu Adonai Eloheinu be'ahava uvratzon Shabbat kodshecha v'yanuchu va Yisrael mikadeshei shemecha Baruch atah Adonai mikadesh hashabbat. Shabbat, a time to take a pause, reflect, and collect. You are here every week, but am I? You welcome me into a safe space, a place where I can go and just breathe. You wrap me in comforting songs and rituals, spiritually secure in who I am. My mind wanders to places that I've missed during my busy week, places that remind me of the past, of fallen loved ones, places that recenter me. You are a weekly do-over for me. You create the space for me to ask, am I doing all that God has asked of me? We continue on page 137.
Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu b'amcha Yisrael utfilatam ba'ahava tikabel uthi l'ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha Baruch atah Adonai she'otacha levadka b'yira na'avod. One translation of this prayer starts, accept the prayer of your people Israel as lovingly as it is offered. How many ways are there to offer prayers? Abraham Joshua Heschel said his legs were praying when he walked for justice with the Reverend Martin Luther King. My friend Andy Lawton told me that singing is my prayer. Sai Baba says, service is worship. Each act of service is a flower placed at the feet of God. Hands that serve are greater than the lips that pray. What is your prayer?
We continue on page 139.
For the expanding grandeur of creation, worlds known and unknown, galaxies beyond galaxies, filling us with awe and challenging our imaginations. Modim anachnu lach.
For this fragile planet Earth, its times and tides, its sunsets and seasons. Modim anachnu lach.
For the joy of human life, its wonders and surprises, its hopes and achievements. Modim anachnu lach.
For human community, our common past and future hope, our oneness transcending all separation, our capacity to work for peace and justice in the middle of hostility and oppression.
Modim anachnu lach.
For high hopes and noble causes, for faith without fanaticism, for understanding of views not shared.
Modim anachnu lach.
For all who have labored and suffered for a fairer world, who have lived so that others might live in dignity and freedom.
Modim anachnu lach.
For human liberties and sacred rights, for opportunities to change and grow, to affirm and choose. Modim anachnu lach.
We pray that we may live not by our fears, but by our hopes, not by our words, but by our deeds. Blessed are you, Adonai. Your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, hatavshikha v'cha nacheh lehodot.
The prayer that the class just read is a prayer of giving thanks. And so we'll continue to give thanks with each member of the class having written their own small prayer of thanks.
I'm grateful for my parents and my cat. I'm grateful for Suburban Temple for welcoming and teaching me. I'm grateful for having a roof over my head and food to eat. I'm grateful to learn from the Torah and grateful for opportunities to grow and be a good Jew and a good neighbor.
It's been a long, winding road to this B'nai Mitzvah. 3 congregations have been stopping places along the way. The Blacksburg, Virginia Jewish Community Center, of which we were charter members, where our daughters became bat mitzvah, and where I learned my first real Hebrew prayer, Kaddish, said for my father. Congregation B'nai Israel, where I discovered I had a voice to lead services and to interpret Torah from an alternative perspective. Suburban Temple-Kol brings it full circle. The serendipitous offer of bat mitzvah study fulfilled a subliminal need. Thank you to Rabbi Nair for helping me to learn to read Hebrew, something I had sworn was absolutely impossible. Thank you to Rabbi Van for putting up with my crankiness. Thank you to my family for their confirmation.
Standing here on the bima today, I have this feeling of gratitude for myself to think back when I felt that life at times was not worth living and how I found it difficult to even imagine happiness at times. I am thankful for my strength to stay strong and continue to grow and have faith in finding and experiencing happiness. I am so unbelievably thankful to have connected with Suburban Temple-Kol because I have finally found a space that allowed me to be myself and who accepts my Jewish identity while providing me the support and education to have a fulfilling relationship with our synagogue, while engaging with me in my growth in Judaism. I am thankful for all the support from my partner Jeff, who has shared so much love and knowledge to help make me a better person, and my family and friends who mean the world to me, because the love we all share is unconditional. Jeff, family, friends, and Suburban Temple-Kol and me, I am so grateful for you all and believe you have been a gift from God to me.
I am thankful for the freedom to choose how I worship God and to Adonai for this beautiful life, my family and friends, health and lessons leading me to Rabbi Van and the Suburban Temple family. Thank you for welcoming me and accepting me into your community.
I would like to thank my friends and family who are all in attendance today. I feel so blessed to be surrounded by amazing people who have supported me for as long as I can remember. I would also like to thank Rabbi Shauna, Rabbi Van, my fellow B'nai Mitzvah students, and all of Suburban Temple for providing this opportunity. In the midst of uncertainty, it was so nice to come together and strive towards our goal as a group.
I am grateful for the many people with whom I've crossed paths over the years. Your wisdom, ideas, thoughts, opinions, shared experiences, and friendship have inspired me on a journey of lifelong discovery. Your gifts are truly what enhances my life. Thank you.
Please turn to page 140 for Sim Shalom.
Sim Shalom, Torah uvracha. Sim Shalom, Torah uvracha. Sim Shalom, Torah uvracha. Sim Shalom, Torah uvracha. Chen v'chesed, chen v'chesed v'rachamim. Chen v'chesed, chen v'chesed v'rachamim, v'rachamim. Sim Shalom, Torah uvracha. Sim Shalom, Torah uvracha.
Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate amongst the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of our world. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, asherei Yisrael, Shalom. we take a moment for personal silent prayer.
Well, if you already think they're incredible, just wait. We turn now to page 245 for Seder Kriyat Torah, the service for the excuse me, the service for the reading of the Torah. We will first, after we remove the Torah from the ark, the class will carry the Torah in a procession called a hakafah. Hakafah actually means parade, but it's not like a New Year's parade. It's an opportunity for us, for those of us who wish to be near Torah. We simply need to reach out towards it and touch it. And then the Torah will be undressed and it will be read by every member of the class. We'll also read a secondary reading of Torah, a secondary reading of text, which I believe Rabbi Shauna is going to explain to us. And the class has also prepared together a speech called the Devar Torah, explaining a little bit about this Torah portion and how it's relevant to them. So it is my pleasure at this point to call up Dorothea Polster as we turn to page 245.
Assemble the people, men, women, and children, and the strangers in your cities, to hear, to learn, to revere Adonai your God, to observe faithfully the words of this Torah, and let their children, who do not yet know it, hear, that they too may learn to revere Adonai your God.
Please rise in body or in spirit.
In this scroll is the secret of our people's life from Sinai until now. Its teaching is love and justice, goodness and hope. Freedom is its gift to all who treasure it.
Baruch Jonathon. Shenatan Torah Torah Le'amo Yisrael B'kedushato Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo Lecha Adonai Hagedula V'Hagevura V'Hatiferet V'Hanetzach V'Hahod Kichol Bashamayim Uvaretz Kichol Bashamayim Uvaretz Lecha Adonai Hamamlacha V'Hamid Na'aseh Lechol Erosh Al Shlosha Devarim Al Shlosha Devarim Al Shlosha Devarim Haolam Omed Al Shlosha Devarim Al Shlosha Devarim Al Shlosha Devarim Haolam Omed Al HaTorah Ve'al HaAvodah Ve'al Gemilut Chasadim Al HaTorah Ve'al HaAvodah Ve'al Gemilut Chasadim Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai. Naria, naria, letzoyi sheinu nekadma fana v'toda. Naria, naria, letzoyi sheinu bizmirot naria lo. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai. Ivdu et Hashem besimcha, ivdu et Hashem besimcha, bo lefanav birnana, lefanav birnana. Ivdu et Hashem besimcha, ivdu et Hashem besimcha, bo lefanav birnana, lefanav birnana. Yalalai, 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 lalai, yalalai, lalai, 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 yalalai, yalalai, lalai, yalalai, lalai, lalai.
At this point, it's really an honor for me to ask Rabbi Shauna Nair to take over for the Torah service. Rabbi Shauna is our Director of Lifelong Learning, and she has been with the class for every Tuesday for 16 months. And so she is going to take over and lead the Torah service.
Thank you. So I want to say that when this class started, none of them knew any Hebrew. And I promised them on that January day when we were all in Zoom boxes on a screen and looked very much like the beginning of the Brady Bunch, that they would be able to read from the Torah scroll. And for those who've never seen a Torah scroll, to understand what that means is not only did they learn all 22 Hebrew letters, they learned all of the vowels that went with them, and then learned how to read without vowels, because there are no vowels in a Torah scroll. So that would be like looking at the letters C and T, and from context having to figure out if that's cat or cut or city. And so they all learned their Torah portions with vowels, and they now can read them without from the Torah scroll. So I think that this was, they will probably agree, the most difficult part of their journey. But I am super proud of all of them, and they have done an incredible job. You can find their Torah portion, which is from the book of Leviticus, in your order of service. If you would like to follow along, you will also find a translation there, which Muriel will speak about later. And so it is my pleasure to invite all of our B'nai Mitzvah up as we recite the prayer, and they will read Torah for you. Justin. Okay, you're going to start right there. Okay. Take the
Baruch et Adonai Hamborach.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'chabanu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Vayidaber Adonai. Vayidaber Adonai El Moshe Va'el Aharon Limor Ki Tavo El Eretz Canaan Asher Ani Noten Lechem Va'achozah V'natati Nega Sarat Bevit Eretz Achozachem Uva Asher Wo Habayit Vihigid Vakohen Limor Kanega Nir'ah Wo Babayit. You go hold it for her? All right.
V'tziva hakohen ufinu et habayit, b'terem yavo hakohen lirot et hanega, v'lo yitma kol asher babayit, v'achar kain yavo hakohen lirot et habayit, v'ra'a et hanega, v'hine hanega Bikirot Habayit, Sheka'arurot, Yarak Rakhot, O Odam Damot, Umar Ehen, Shafal Main Hakir.
Va'atza hakohen min habayit. El Petach Habayit, V'hiskir et Habayit, Shavat Yamim. V'shav HaKohen, Bayom HaShvi'i, V'ra'a, V'hine, Pesha Hanega, V'kirot Habayit, V'tziva hakohen v'chiltzu et ha'avanim asher bahen hanega v'hisliku aten el mechutz la'ir et makom tameh.
Ve'et habait yaksia mi beit saviv v'shafchu et he'afar asher hiksu el michutz la'er el makom tameh. V'lachu avonim acherot v'heviu el tachat ha'avanim ve'afar Acher yikach vitach et habait, ve'im yashuv henega ufarach babait, acher kilate et ha'avanim, ve'acharei hiksot, ve'acharei hitoach.
Uva hakohen v'ra'a v'hine pasha hanega babait sara'at mam eret hi babait tameh hu v'natats et babait et havanav ve'et eitzav ve'et kol afar habait v'hotzi el mihutz la'er el makom tameh v'hava el habait kol yemei hisker oto yitmei ad ha'arev.
V'chashochev babait ichabes et begadav. V'chaochel babait ichabes et begadav. V'im bo yavo hakohen v'ra'a v'hine lo fasha hanega. Babait acharei hitoach et habait. V'tihar hakohen et habait ki nirpa hanaga.
Baruch atah Adonai,
Eloheinu melech haolam,
asher natan lanu Torah temet, v'chayei olam nota b'torchenu.
Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen.
So when somebody does something really well in Judaism, we say to them, Yasher Koach, may you go to strength. So we say this to the class, Yasher Koach. You may be seated as a group. With the Torah giving us strength, we offer our prayer for healing. Rabbi Nachman of Bratislav taught a person has the ability to reach in three directions: into oneself, up to God, and out to others. And that is what we do with our Misha Berach prayer, our prayer for healing. We reach into ourselves for the strength and healing we have inside of us. We reach up to God with the names of those we love and care about who are in need of healing. And then we reach out with our prayer to all those who are in need of healing throughout our world. And so, Rabbi Bratislav also teaches that the miracle is when one reaches in any one direction, they reach in all three. So with that in mind, with all those in your hearts who are in need of healing, and with all those in our world who are in need of healing, we offer our Misha Berach prayer, which can be found on page 253.
May the source of strength
It is a custom so that everybody can see what has been read on a Shabbat morning from the Torah scroll that we lift the Torah high for the congregation to see. That honor is called Hagba. Our Hagba this morning will be Justin, and then we will dress the Torah. And so we ask you all to rise to show honor to the Torah. It's okay.
וזאת התורה שעשה משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה. לי 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 לי
So as Rabbi Van mentioned earlier in the service, we do read a secondary portion. This is typically from the Book of Prophets. It came about because the rabbis got worried that we were only going to learn Torah and we weren't going to learn the rest of the Bible. And in fact, the Reform movement started some years ago creating additional alternative readings so that we didn't forget about the Book of Writings as well. And so the class chose a Haftarah portion that they found meaningful. It is from the Book of Psalms, and it too can be found in your order of service this morning. Everybody come on up for the blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nbi'im tovim v'ratza b'divreihem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah u'Moshe avdo u'Yisrael amo u'v'nvi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek.
Barahi nafshi et Adonai v'kol kiravai et shem kodsho.
Barahi nafshi et Adonai va'al tishkihi kol gemulav.
Hisoleach likol arofehi harofe lichol tachalu achi.
Hagoel mishachat chayachi hamatrechi chesed v'rachamim.
Hamashbia Batov Yediach Titadash Ki Nesher Nuraki.
Oseh Sadako Adonai Umishpatim Mechol Ashukim.
Baruch atah Adonai
Eloheinu melech haolam, tzor kol haolamim, tzadik bechol hadorot, ha'el ha'ne'eman, ha'omer ve'oseh, hamdaber umkayem, shekol devarav emet v'tzedek, al ha'torah ve'al ha'avodah, ve'al ha'nevi'im, ve'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh, shenatata lanu, Adonai Eloheinu, lidusha ve'limnucha, lechavod ultifaret, al hakol, Adonai Eloheinu, anachnu modim lach, umevarechim otach, yitbarach shimcha, befi kol chai tamid leolam va'ed, baruch ata Adonai, mekadesh hashabbat.
What?
So, as we said, the class has a Devar Torah, and the truth is they all gave their ideas, and Muriel composed a beautiful Devar Torah to teach us about this week's Torah portion, which she will now deliver.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Today's portion, Mitzvah, is one that B'nai Mitzvah usually cringe at having to discuss. However, over the past few years, its story has clearly become more relevant. It speaks about what to do when a plague infects a house. The portion says that the priests take several steps to eradicate the plague, which is visible on the walls, and if they are not successful, the house is torn down. We can ask as to the nature of the plague. Some traditional commentaries say it is slander. However, the only other biblical link between plagues and slander is in the book of Numbers, when Miriam, in the company of Aaron, is so bold as to challenge Moses' choice of wife, and she is punished with a plague of scales and cast out of the camp. That's not to say that there isn't a logical link between the two. Misspeaking can clearly lead to trouble. If misspeaking inside a home causes such an intense reaction, what do we do if the house is the stand-in for the community? The slanderer being removed from the house, which is one of the remedies, gives the community a chance to heal and the perpetrator a chance to reconsider. However, if not exorcised, slander and lies can bring down a civilization as surely as a plague. We can take a more conventional approach and consider that the plague is biological. In this case, the measures given in the portion sound very much like standard public health protocols. In these times, public health and slander collide in an unanticipated fashion. Public health is threatened by a biological plague, and slander prevents an efficient response to that plague. The Parsha says the priests are the agents of cleansing, and that if the scourge is not eliminated, the house is to be destroyed. But these actions will not work for today's situation. Who are the priests that will cleanse our society of the propaganda that poisons our response to the pandemic? The propaganda that is on our screens as surely as the plague is on the walls of our house. There are no priests. It is our own responsibility to ensure that the slander of anti-scientism and alternate realities is halted. And is the cure to the pandemic really to destroy our house? I hope not. And yet, that may be the end of the road we are traveling. The biological plague may be somewhat under control, but the slander seems not only to be getting worse, but mutating, like a virus, to infect other aspects of our societal house, aspects that are central to our notion of what Judaism represents. Love thy neighbor, be kind to the other, and do not revere an icon or person instead of the one God. We must do what we can to keep alive in our society those aspects of our faith that have become central to our larger way of life. Pirkei Avot says, "It is not your responsibility to finish the work of perfecting the world, but you are not free to desist from it either." There may be goals that are bigger than one person can accomplish in a lifetime, that are beyond the capabilities of a single person, but that doesn't excuse us from taking them on, individually and with others, and across generations as well. Just as we stand on the shoulders of those who have gone before, we need to instill these values in the next generation, even when others aim to prevent that. The labor of Torah is never complete, and we, as formally new members of the group, commit to it.
We turn to return the Torah to the ark, and we rise as able. And it's my pleasure. Oh, Muriel, you're not yet done.
Oh, right, I'm not. I have that little prayer that I'm not sure I know.
You know it. You can, yep. Go ahead.
Yahalelu et Shem Adonai, ki viskav shemo levodo. Close enough for government work.
Let us praise the name of Adonai, for God's name alone is exalted.
Hodo al eretz v'shamayim, vayarem vayarem keren le'amo, tehila tehila lecho chasidav, livnei Yisrael am krovam, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
God's Torah is perfect, reviving the soul. God's teaching is sure, making wise the simple. God's precepts are right, delighting the mind. God's mitzvot are clear, giving light to the eyes. God's word is pure, enduring forever. God's judgments are true and altogether just.
It's Chaim lamachazakim ba v'tomecheha meushar deracheha darchenam v'chol netivoteha shalom. Hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva Chodesh Chodesh Yomeinu Chodesh Yomeinu Kekedem.
Well, you guys were all amazing. And now it's our turn. Oh, look at that. To speak to you. So you know that I love nothing more than telling a good story. And nothing makes me happier than a story about a storyteller. So this morning I want to tell one of my favorite stories, and it is about an incredible storyteller who always seemed to have the perfect story for every occasion. And she awed people with her ability to tell just the right story and to always have the right tone with every story and the right inflection, and just to bring joy with all of her stories. And so one day, one of her really good friends said, "How is it that you always know how, like you always have the perfect story for the perfect occasion?" And she said, "To explain this to you, I shall tell you a story." She said, there once was a king, and he was raising a prince, and so he sent the prince to nobility school, which I imagine in my head is much like Harry Potter, but I don't know, because I've only read one of the books, and it's not my world. But sent him to nobility school so he could learn how to be a future monarch. And he learned all of the things he needed to do to be a monarch, and the one thing he really excelled at was archery. He knew how to feather a bow and how to get just the right angle and how to put his body in the correct stance so that he was a master archer by the time he was done with nobility school. And when he graduated, he was on his way home, and it was quite a long journey. So on the way, he stopped in a little town, and he stopped at a lovely inn, and he had a lovely meal, and then he decided to go for a walk. And as he was walking, a barn caught his attention, because on the side of the barn were all of these bullseyes, all of these targets, and there was an arrow dead center in the middle of each bullseye. And they couldn't figure out, he wanted to meet like whoever the archer was who had been able to hit so many perfect bullseyes. And he went around town asking, "Where is your master archer? I need to talk to him. This is something I'm really good at, and I need to know how to hit a bullseye every time." And nobody knew who he was talking about. So finally, he just got frustrated and sat down by the barn, figuring maybe this master archer would happen on by. But all he saw was a kid, and he said to the kid, "Do you know who hit these bullseyes?" And he said, "Well, that was me." And he said, "Well, can you show me how you do it?" Because now he was like truly amazed that like this little kid could hit all of these bullseyes. And so the kid got a bow and an arrow, and he drew back, and the arrow hit the side of the barn, nowhere near any of the targets that had been painted. And the archer, the future king, was super confused, and was even more confused when the young man went into the barn and grabbed a can of paint. Until, so you all know where it's going now, until he went to the side of the barn and painted the target around the arrow. So, as you can see, sometimes the story picks the occasion, and sometimes the occasion picks the story. This morning, we have picked a story, as it were, for each of you. It has become a tradition in our congregation to give each of our adult B'nai Mitzvah a book on the occasion of you completing this journey. It is a symbol that this is not a graduation of any kind, but rather a marker along the way on a lifelong learning journey. And it has been amazing getting to know all of you over the years, and especially these past 16 months as a class, but even more so for the incredible human beings that you each are as individuals. So rather than getting you all the same book, we decided to get you each a different book that we chose based on who you are, based on your interests, and based on our hopes for you and your next steps on your journey.
So now it gets to be our turn to do all the talking because you are so amazing. So first, Justin. Justin, the book we chose for you is Jewish Literacy by Joseph Telushkin. It's considered a must-have in a Jewish library. It's a reference book. It has 352 short chapters that covers subjects ranging from Jewish culture to Talmud to history. You have often commented that Judaism has supported you and helped you grow. We chose this for you because we want you to know how proud we are of you and how impressed we are by your love of learning.
Tessa. I have spoken a lot about both the silver linings and the silver learnings of COVID. And I believe that one of the best silver linings and learnings of this pandemic is that you chose to get your certification as a yoga instructor. Selfishly, this has been amazing because you have become one of the most popular and one of the most incredible teachers in our learning program. Less selfishly, I have also enjoyed watching you step out of your comfort zone again and again as you step in front of a classroom and lead them not only to a deeper understanding of themselves, but also to how Judaism and mindfulness can get them there. For you, we have chosen a Musar Torah commentary, A Spiritual Path to Living a Meaningful and Ethical Life, edited by Barry H. Block, and we hope that it will both enhance your participation in Torah study and also your personal mindfulness practice.
Muriel, for you, we chose the book Here All Along by Sarah Hurwitz. Sarah Hurwitz served as head speechwriter for First Lady Michelle Obama and senior speechwriter for President Barack Obama. However, finding herself in a challenging time in her life, she drifted towards Judaism and found it meaningful, beautiful, and fulfilling. Sarah, a strong, successful, well-educated woman, found a new voice through Judaism. Muriel, this reminded me and Rabbi Shauna so much of your journey. We had to buy it for you.
Jonathon, you are the walking embodiment of joy with your smile and your contagious laugh. And we are also impressed with your depth and compassion and your thirst for knowledge and connection. I was so moved by the relationship to our ancestors you spoke about in your prayer interpretation, about how honored you are to have Abraham and Sarah's name as a part of yours. For you, we have chosen A Year with the Sages, Wisdom on the Weekly Torah Portion by Reuven Hammer. This book, we hope, will connect you with the generations of those who came before you and give you the knowledge and confidence to be the Jewish inspiration we know you can be for the generations to follow.
Dorothea. Oh, Dorothea. This B'nai Mitzvah represents such an incredible journey, one of family and learning and spirituality. One of my favorite philosophers, Abraham Joshua Heschel, wrote, "Our goal should be to live life in radical amazement, to get up in the morning and look at the world in a way that takes nothing for granted. Everything is phenomenal. Everything is incredible. Never treat life casually. To be spiritual is to be amazed." This is you, Dorothea. You live naturally in radical amazement. To honor your spiritual journey, we chose a work that has become a spiritual classic, a personal favorite of mine, The Sabbath by Abraham Joshua Heschel.
Eric. As a Jewish educator, I spend a lot of my time trying to define what a mensch is and how to be one. Rabbi Hillel is famous for saying, "In a place where no one is human, strive to be human." The most common understanding of this is that we must be a mensch, a good person, even if no one else is. But there is another interpretation which says we must be a mensch, even if there is no one there to catch us being good. Without even knowing it, you understand this on an intuitive level. As you wrote in your personal prayer, when faced with an opportunity to make a choice and no one is present to hold us accountable to that decision, I believe this is where the power of God is present. Eric, you live a values-driven life, and you are a true mensch. For you, we have chosen Everyday Holiness, The Jewish Spiritual Path of Musar by Alan Marinus. We're going to hope I got that right.
Maurice.
What?
Maurice.
Maurice. And we hope that it will offer you a Jewish lens for what you already do so intuitively.
We have tried to choose the perfect story for each of you. And it has come to our attention that you have a nickname for yourselves, that you call yourselves the B'nai Misfits. I'm going to let that sit for a minute. In spending time with you these last 16 months, we know this name is an example of your humor, of how deeply you have bonded with each other, and yet it does not hit the target. Oops. It does not hit the target when it comes to describing you. You are all incredible human beings in your own right. And in coming together, the sum is truly greater than the parts. If we were asked to describe our hopes and dreams for an adult B'nai Mitzvah class and experience, adult B'nai Mitzvah class and experience, this would be the bullseye for sure. We wish you Mazal Tov and pray for you to continue to go from strength to strength. Amen.
So we've now said lovely things about them, as we promised we would do, so that you could all know how deeply proud we are of this incredible class. It is now a custom in our congregation to for the rabbi to offer private blessings to each of our learners. So the ark will be open, but we're going to let you remain seated. And we ask for those of you for all the members of the class that you know, to think about your wishes and hopes for this class as well, which you can share with them later in the morning. Deb will be singing an amazing song, so if you're not crying already, you will be after Lador Vador, as they get blessed by the rabbi.
We are gifts and we are blessings. We are history in song. We are hope and we are healing. We are learning to be strong. We are words and we are stories. We are pictures of the past. We are carriers of wisdom, not the first and not the last. Lador vador nagid God lecha. Lador vador we protect this chain. From generation to generation, Lador vador, these lips will praise your name. Looking back on the journey that we carry in our hearts, from the shadow of the mountain to the waters that would part. We are blessed and we are holy. We are children of your way, and the words that bring us meaning, we will have the generation to generation. Ledvador, these lips will praise your name. Ledor vador, nagid God lecha. Ledor vador, we protect this chain from generation to generation. Ledor vador, these lips will praise your name. Ledor vador, nagid God lecha. Ledor vador, we protect this chain from generation to generation. Ledor vador, these lips will praise your name.
So we're almost done with you. Maybe. So in addition, you realize you all received envelopes too, in addition to your books. Those are your Bar Bat Mitzvah certificates, and they are all signed by Rabbi Van, myself, our executive director, Brett Shankman, and Lori Rosenberg, our president. And so first of all, when you wake up tomorrow and you go, did that really happen? You have actual proof and documentation that it did. Or when you're wondering what to do with your Tuesday evening, you know, you can say, oh wait, I'm done. But it's also, with all of those signatures, a symbol that not only are all of the friends and family who are here celebrating with you proud of you today, but so is your temple family. And so representing your temple family, it is my pleasure to call upon our president, Lori Rosenberg, who has some words of Mazal Tov for you too.
Glad this was set up here because I didn't want to talk to your back. So Mazal, Yesher Koach to all of you. As a Jewish people and as a congregation, we are so proud of you and all that you have accomplished. As Jews and as a sacred congregation here at Suburban Temple, we are stronger because of your commitment to learning and the desire to be called to the Torah to read, which you all did in such a beautiful fashion. This morning, your families and friends have to be so proud of you. We as a congregation are filled with pride as you beautifully led this morning's service. And as I know from experience, you feel the joy, the spiritual connection, and of course, relief. Over the past year and a half, you have naturally grown as a group, personally and as in a spiritual group. I hope that for many, many years to come, this will be the case. I am confident that today's experience has drawn you closer and will help support you on your spiritual journey moving forward. Mazel tov.
Wow. Okay. So we turn now to Aleinu, which can be found on page 283. Please rise in body or in spirit. Let us adore the ever-living God and render praise unto you, who spreads out the heavens and established the earth, whose glory is revealed in the heavens above, and whose greatness is manifest throughout the world. You are our God, there is none else.
ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד Ushemo, Ushemo, Ushemo Echad.
Please be seated. We continue now with our time of remembering. Our memorial meditation on this Shabbat morning can be found on page 293. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. On this Shabbat, we remember those taken most recently from our temple family: Bill Nidus, Grace Richards, Marjorie L. Grodin. And we mark the yahrzeits, the anniversaries of death that fall on this Shabbat: Francis Eisner Barjansky, Fanny Herstam Bernstein, Robert A. Bernstein, Charles Cohen, Emil Cohn Jr., Milton I. Doss, Miriam Goodwin Eisenberg, Jay Engel, Harold Fellinger, Howard M. Gans, Jules Garrell, Dorothea Gessen-Hughes, Jacob I. Glickman, Mordecai Goldhammer, Grant K. Goodman, Sylvan Grott, William M. Heller, Edward F. Hirsch, Norman D. Carmel, Shirley Catcher, Samuel S. Kaufman, Jeanette K., Catherine Marks Kornhauser, Joseph Kramer, Mark Larange, Bernard Lefkowitz, Louise Stoddard Miltziner, Nettie Nateris, Odell Nathanson, Judy Nathanson, Harry New Sr., Marion Stoddard Reed, Elizabeth Leidenheim Rosenberg, Elise Rosenberg, Paul M. Rosenwasser, Imogene H. Schnapp, Ruth Sherman, Minna Silverman Siegel, Jane W. Weingart, Benjamin James Wolpow. Our griefs and sympathies are mingled as together we turn to page 294 and rise as able for the mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon uvyomechon, uvchaye techol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kari v'imru, amen. Yehe shmei Rabbah mevorach leolam almei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'yithadar, v'yitale, v'yitalal, shemei dekudesha barichu. Le'elam minkol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, da'amiran bi'alma v'imru, amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, huya aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and give comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us say together, amen. Please be seated. Oh, I thought you said something. We have a few final wonderful things to do. So first we have Kiddush and Motzi. So I'd like to bring the class forward. Unless, did you have assigned? No. Okay, so come on forward for Kiddush and Motzi, which can be found on page 301 and then 302.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Barei peri hagafen.
Ready for the motzi?
Yep. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz,
We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our prayer is humbly said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
So much to celebrate this weekend. So in addition to this amazing B'nai Mitzvah, 2 of our learners had birthdays this Shabbat. Dorothea's birthday was yesterday. Yes, right?
Yes.
And Tessa, she's like looking at me and now I thought I messed up. And Tessa's is today. So we are going to sing to them because that's something to celebrate too.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Dorothea and Tessa. Happy birthday to you. Yom Huledet Sameach. Yom Huledet Sameach. Yom Huledet Sameach. Yom Huledet Sameach.
We do have a closing song. Much of the music for last night and today was chosen by our class, and we were thrown sort of a gauntlet by Muriel. Muriel said, I'll do a bat mitzvah if you do a Adon Olam to Hamilton. And we took the challenge.
And that was 2 years ago.
That was 2 years ago. So I believe the page 3 something is Adon Olam.
This I don't know.
321, turn to 321. If you've seen Hamilton and you know the score, you will recognize the melody. The beginning of the melody, thanks to Deb, is dedicated, you don't even know this class, dedicated just to you. Deb wrote lyrics just for you. And this is all in honor of this class.
That turning 13 is the time to be called to Torah. You might have doubted adults can learn Hebrew and do an aliyah. Now you see these 6 very different women and men did all that, and they've made us so proud. Now the service is over, there's only one thing left to do. Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem Kol Yitzir Yitzir Nivra, Le'ed Nasa, B'chefto Kol, Azai Melech Shemo Shemo Nikra, Ve'acharei Kitlot HaKol Levado Yimloch Nora, Vehu Hayam, Vehu Hoveh, Vehu Yiyeh Betifara, Adon Olam Asher Malach, da 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 da, ya da 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 da, da 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 da, ya da 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 da, ya da 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 da. Vehu echad ve'ein sheni laham shilo, laham shilo, lahach bira. Beli reshit, beli tachlit, velo ha'oz v'ha'misra, vehu eli v'chai go'ali, v'tzurchev lib ve'etzara, vehu nisi u'manos li, menat kosi be'yom ekra. Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem Kol Yitzir Yitzir Nivra, Le'ed Nasa, B'chefto Kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra, Ve'yahada apkid ruchi ve'eti shan ve'a'ira ve'im ruchi geviati Adonai li velo velo ira da 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 everybody da 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 Mazel tov.
Mazel tov. Mazel tov. Mazel tov. Mazel tov. And so we say Mazel tov, which actually means good star, but it really is a way of saying congratulations. So let's all count to 3 and yell Mazel tov. 1, 2, 3. Mazel tov. Our service is concluded.
No candy. No candy.
No candy. I don't allow it.
Simon tov, Mazel tov, Mazel tov, Simon tov, Simon tov, Mazel tov, Mazel tov, Simon tov, Simon tov, Mazel tov, Mazel tov, Simon tov, Yehelanu. Simon tov, Mazel tov, Mazel tov, Simon tov, Simon tov, Mazel tov, Mazel tov, Simon, Simon tov, Mazel tov, Mazel tov, Simon tov, Yehelanu. Yehelanu, Yehelanu, oh, Lechol Yisrael. Yehelanu, Yehelanu, oh, Lechol Yisrael. Yehelanu, Yehelanu, oh, Lechol Yisrael.
You did it. Every minute of it.
Yehelanu, oh, Lechol Yisrael. You too.
Okay.
Thank you.
You can now. Yeah, absolutely. Your cover's on.